Welcome back to the Green Beans Go channel. It's your host, me. The plan for today is to review what happened yesterday. We're going to look at some King of the Court picks, as I know a lot of you are here just for that information. And then we're going to move on to breaking down the entire NBA slate and some additional picks that I like. So yesterday was an awful, awful day, at least for official plays. Benedict Mathurin needed 3. He got 2. Wendell Carter, he took a turd on the floor. Started off really well and then ended with 6 rebounds. Kevin Porter, you want to talk about, this is an eye roll. In the first 3 minutes, he had 3 assists, and I was counting. I was counting my money. I was counting my win. I said 3 assists in 3 minutes. Yeah, he's going for 10. Why didn't I take this up to 10? Why did I stop at 8? Ended with 5. And then Kahn hit 4. Miller was voided. Bridges went 0 for 5, and Charlotte ended up losing the game. So a real bad official plays day. However, my other leans that I decided not to take, Jokic triple-double, Miles Turner threes, the under in the Atlanta-Detroit game. Neither team scored 100, so that was easy. Nickeil Walker-Alexander, threes over. He had 6. His line was at 3. You get 3 at plus money. He had 6. Cleveland minus 6.5. Miami, I was all over this game. They dominated. Mitchell had 12 assists. Hero he only had 2 assists. But the 1, 2, and 3 guard for Miami had 4, 4, and 6 threes. So an absolute read of the century. Unfortunately, I didn't play any of them. That's how it goes. Bain had like 37 last night, and Wagner cleared his points, rebounds, and assists. I also said, hey, don't fall in love with Dallas. They look good tonight, but it's against Denver. Denver's respectable. Guess what? Dallas won outright. So hopefully you decided to tail some of my other leans and you stayed away from my official plays. King of the End Zone was last night. It is the football version of King of the Court, which we are going to talk about in just a second. I gave out Williams, Booty, and Olszewski. Now the good news, as far as the bad news goes, if we're going to like sugarcoat the bad news, is if you took either of these 2 guys, you made money because they did score a touchdown. Unfortunately, neither of them scored the longest. The longest was the Patriots' special teams on a kick return or on a punt return. And I picked Kyle Williams because he's supposed to be the new return guy. I guess he's only on for kickoffs, not punts. So kind of disappointing there. It is what it is. But L Crossface, we owe you an ornament. So we'll hit the right button here. We're gonna go with L Crossface. You get baby's first Christmas. Don't know where this came from. I'm assuming from my childhood. So we'll continue adding ornaments today. If you are lucky enough to call the King of the Court, we'll add an ornament in your name. Last week, Luka, CJ, and Austin Reeves were the top 3. I did have Austin Reeves as my unlikely hero. Would have been $380. So unfortunately, we cannot celebrate that. I did not have Luka or CJ. We talked about Rink last week calling CJ. He dropped it in the comments. Would have been over $2,000 in free bets. So today we're going to take a look. Again, I want you guys to comment who you are taking. I like to use DIMERS. DIMERS is a data source that hold on, I gotta log in. Didn't log in. We don't want to dox myself. You don't want my email. You don't want all that stuff, guys. You don't need to know my name. You don't need to know my first and last name. Okay, so we'll go ahead and log in here and we will take a look at DIMERS. Now what I like to do first is go to the predictions, and I like to look at the totals for every game, because the more points we have, the more likely that the King of the Court is from that game. I will tell you real quick, 234 is going to be a very common number. 232, that's a bucket difference. This one, guess what? 231. I've already looked at these, and I'm telling you, they're all low 230s, 231, except this one's the same, 234. So all of these first 5 games are very similar, except this one where you get 222. A lot of defense in this game, and if you stick around for the full game breakdown, you'll see what I have to say about that. So let's just go over to our projections, our player projections, which is what I like to use for this, and I like to sort by points, rebounds, and assists, and see that Tyrese Maxey is the number 1 projected points, rebounds, and assister of tonight. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander comes in second. Anthony Edwards is third. And I'm going to tell you right now, after looking at all of these games and breaking them down, I like Anthony Edwards for number 1. I think his matchup against the Pelicans is absolutely soft, and I can see a big game from Anthony Edwards. So we'll go ahead and lock him in as our stat stuffer, or my favorite pick for stat stuffer. I do think this Knicks and Boston game is going to be very, very competitive, and I do think it's going to be high scoring. Neither of these teams defend well from 3, and both of these teams love shooting the 3. I think Jalen Brunson could be in for a big night, and for that reason, Dimers agrees with me. I'm going to slot him as a fringe star. Now, I realize that Jalen Brunson is probably more of a star than a fringe star, but we're going to lock him in for our second pick as far as that goes. Now, what's interesting tonight is you don't really have a triple-double threat. Every single night that we have had this promo, there has been a Luka, a Jokic, just a guy who is Jalen Johnson. Even none of these guys are super threats for the triple double. However, I'm going to give you, I think De'Aaron Fox is a good pick also. De'Aaron Fox is a good pick. I'm going to say Julius Randle is incredibly tempting, but I can see him passing a little bit too much tonight. VJ, I think's matchup defensively is pretty tricky against Toronto. Scotty Barnes could be a look, but he has let me down so many times. I'm not even going to consider it. And then now we start scrolling down here, and we see some serious, Zach Edey, for crying out loud. Zach Edey cracks like the top 20. Like, that's the slate tonight. So there is a chance that tonight you go down the list and you could find somebody juicy. Okay, tonight is probably the night where you reach down low, and if a couple of these guys have mediocre games and you pick a guy that just drops some buckets, you could get it done. So I got to come up with a third one. I realize that. I don't like Maxey tonight. Again, I don't love his matchup against Washington. McCollum plays okay defense, and I think they're going to look to shut down Maxey. So I'm gonna avoid that. My gut said, you know what? Let's have some fun. Why not do Naz Reid? I think he comes out and he balls tonight. And if it's a blowout, maybe Naz Reid gets some extra minutes. Why not go Naz Reid for the unlikely hero? Maybe he drops 30. No, don't be stupid. Let's not be stupid, guys. I don't need to be stupid. I'm not doing that. What am I? Be serious. Be serious for 5 minutes. Peyton Pritchard is off a 40-point game. That could be interesting. Chet. That's it. It just came over me. It spoke to me. Chet Holmgren, number 3 for King of the Court. It is in a lower scoring game, but I think his matchup is incredibly soft. So that is what I'm rolling with as far as my top 3 picks for today's King of the Court. If you want to check out Dimers, you could do so for free. If you want to pay for it, you can get a discount using my link. We'll drop it in the comments. Otherwise, comment who you are taking for King of the Court today. And I think this is a solid triple threat of picks. So good luck if you play it. Let's go ahead and break down these games. If you want to stick around, I appreciate you. Like and comment or whatever. It's Philadelphia. 12.5-point home favorites against Washington. Washington is on a back-to-back. Joel Embiid will not be playing. Paul George is likely to be playing. The defense of Washington in the paint is incredibly weak, and I think we have a significant advantage in that of the Philly big men. I like Dominic Barlow overs, although good luck finding lines. They are not out right now. I like Andre Drummond overs, but I'm going to advise you take that with a grain of salt, as he did have to get carried to the locker room two games ago, and now all of a sudden he's back in the starting lineup. So he must be fine, but maybe they'll be cautious with him, especially if this game gets out of hand and if it's a blowout. So I didn't pick anything officially on that. I'm just saying his matchup is good. VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey assists also both look good, as I think the Sixers roll here. Toronto and Portland, both of these teams defend the 3 well. Toronto plays obviously a little bit better defense. Portland's points come from fast pace and 3-pointers. And these teams have had the polar opposite strength of schedule. Portland has played a much tougher schedule than Toronto has. So you may look at this 5.5 and you may say, I like that, which I do. Portland has had a tougher road up until this point. I just think that Toronto is going to be able to slow them down, control the pace, and give them some pressure at the arc, at the 3-point line, and take away what they like to do, which is score the ball from 3. So I like Toronto minus 5.5. I like Emmanuel Quickley overs, points, assists, or threes. Maybe a combination of all 3. I think he has a great game against Denny Avdija tonight. And then Donovan Clingan, if you want to take unders, I'm not a huge under guy, but Donovan Clingan's matchup is tough tonight against Barnes and Podol. in the paint, so I would be okay with some clean and unders. Knicks and Boston should be a fantastic game. Both of these teams are excellent at the three, excellent at scoring. Defensively, they're solid, but they have some weaknesses. And I wrote funny matchup here. Both are top 5 from three offensively, bottom 10 at defending it. So both of these teams hit a ton of threes, and both of these teams allow a ton of threes. Both of these teams are bottom 10 in scoring in the paint and top 5 in defending it. So they don't score down low, and they stop teams from scoring down low, which tells me, if you just look at that data, that this is going to be a three-point shooting contest. I believe this game is just going to be let it fly from deep. So I like 230 over. The only thing that scares me about that 230 is obviously the pace. Both of these teams play pretty slow, but I think the volume of threes should help make up for it. Boston team threes, if you can find that line. I know it's listed on DraftKings. I like that. Peyton Pritchard threes. Brunson, I think he has a big game, as you can kind of assume from my king of the court pick. Cat rebounds, and at the end of the day, I think Boston gets this one done. I think New York is the stronger team overall. I think their OG Anunoby injury is hurting them, but I think the Celtics are rolling, and I think it becomes too much at the end of the day, and Celtics get it done. Last 3 games of the night, we have Memphis and San Antonio. These two teams are mirror images of each other. I lean Spurs -5. I don't have a ton of confidence. Both of these teams rebound well. They don't hit a ton of threes. However, I do think Jalen Wells threes is a good matchup. De'Aaron Fox threes are poised as a good matchup, and we'll go back to Julian Champagne for 3 threes. I don't know why. I must be addicted to Julian Champagne threes. I've said it may be my most frequent pick on this channel. I don't know what it is. It's just his matchup consistently looks good. And at the end of the day, I like Spurs. Pelicans and Minnesota. Minnesota, one of the better teams in the league, and they get a very, very soft matchup against the Pelicans. I think Minnesota cruises here. The Pelicans excel at scoring in the paint. If you look at their optimistically look at their offense, like where do they do the most damage? It's in the paint. That's where Minnesota is the strongest defensively. I think the Pelicans' 3 volume is too low to keep up here. Minnesota scores a ton from 3, and the Pelicans don't defend it. So you're going to take away from the Pelicans what they do well, which is scoring in the paint, with Minnesota's tough defense in the paint. And then you're going to give Minnesota what they do best, shoot threes, a green light and not defend them. So I think this one gets out of hand. I like Minnesota team threes. I like Dante DiVincenzo assists. I like Julius Randle assists. I like Anthony Edwards threes, Anthony Edwards points. I like McDaniels threes, and I like Minnesota to roll here. Those are just what I see on paper, but we know Pelicans will probably win outright, given my history. Last game of the night, Thunder and Warriors. Golden State's key to winning or covering this plus 11.5 is the 3-ball. They do shoot a lot of threes, and they do score a lot of threes. Now, obviously, the data is including Curry, who is not going to play in this game. So that is a hit to their 3-point production. But the Thunder's weakness on defense, they are very strong defense, but their one weakness is they allow quite a few threes. OKC should control the paint. We'll see. Both of these teams are stronger defensively. I like Moody threes. I like Draymond Green threes. I love Chet overs. I think Chet has a big night, hence my king of the court pick. And then I like Draymond Green rebounds and assists. So looking at some official plays, we'll start down here. Layup line. VJ Edgecombe, 4 assists at plus 128. Our free throw is going to be a 2-team parlay. I found this on DraftKings. Boston to hit 15 threes as a team. Minnesota to hit 15 threes as a team, parlayed together, plus 168. Our 3-pointer, Chet, 22 points, plus 260. That is on Fanatics, which I know not everybody has, but I love that line and I love that price. And then our half-court heave, I did use a parlay boost on DraftKings. It's a threes parlay. Nasri 2, Jaden McDaniels 2, DiVincenzo 3, Anthony Edwards 3. I looked at that game in depth, and I said they should dominate from beyond the arc. They should be able to get any shot they want. So that's what I'm rolling with there. Our Smart Stake play of the day, if you want to check out Smart Stake, you can do so for free today. On Tuesday, they have their fantasy optimizer. So that's Pick 6, that's Prize Picks, that's Underdog, that's Better. If you use any of those books, you have their tool completely for free today, so check that out. Otherwise, one of their plus EV plays that they're calling about 11% value plus EV to the sharp markets, and it's one I love, guys. Julius Randle, 7 assists, plus 163. Not only does Smart Stake like it, Pinnacle's at plus 122. So you're getting, if we say Pinnacle sharp, Pinnacle is fair, this is a massive boost, but I love it too. And I think if all these guys from this, if they're hitting threes, somebody is likely getting assists from it. Let's hope it's Julius Randle. So let's hope we cash it all, we sweep it all. If you're tailing, best of luck. Again, you don't always have to tail these official plays. If you want to cook something up from these leans, honestly, it worked better yesterday to do that than to tail my official plays. So we'll keep it rolling. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see if I have anything else. Nope, that's a fake one from yesterday. Actually, I can mention it. Harrow had 22 points exactly. Otherwise, that would have cashed. So we're not going to end on a sad note. We're going to end on a positive note. Drop your King of the Court picks. Best of luck to you all. Thank you guys for continuing to come back and support. We had almost double the view yesterday, over 600 views. So we'll keep it rolling. I really believe soon enough we're going to be at 1,000 a day, and it's going to feel good, at least to me. And it should to you too, for being here since the day one. Love you.